everyone, welcome back. In my previous video, we learned about for loop. So let's learn about while loop this time. So let me quickly brief you once again about what the loop is. So in layman terms, loop is repeating something again and again, and same thing applies to our programming world also. So we need loops whenever we want to execute any portion of code repeatedly. So coming on to the while loop works with condition, which means that loop will keep running or keep executing given lines of code until the condition is getting false. So when till the condition is true, things will keep running and running and running. So we need to be cautious while mentioning the condition, because that is the important part and that will decide when to terminate the loop. So let's have a quick look at the syntax. So in while loop, there is a while keyword here, and in next to while loop we need to provide the condition. So that will decide when to terminate the loop and when to execute the loop. And again, at the end, you need to provide the semicolon, and the next line should have proper indentation, and whatever is written in this column will be the part of your loop's body. So in this way we need to mention. Let's have a quick look at some examples. So I'm on my Jupyter notebook, and let's see, I want to print, let's go with the same example which I've taken in for loop, and I need to print Shweta 3 times here. So first of all, let's type, okay, now we need to print it 3 times. So it means we need a counter who can count it, that how many times we have already printed. And this is a repeated operation, so we will go with while loop. Now here we need to provide our condition. So what is the condition, and based on what we need to provide print this, right? So what we can do, we can create one variable, let's say ticker, and I can initialize its value to 0, and I want to print Shweta 3 times. So what I am saying to my loop, keep running the loop until the value of my ticker is 3. So if you will look at this, so initially ticker is 0, and here I am saying if 0 is less than 3, which is true, and then it will go ahead and print Shweta. So looking at this code, what will happen is it will continuously print and print. There is no terminating condition here, because we are not changing the value of the ticker. So how can we break this loop? How can we terminate this loop? So for that, what we can do, we need to increment our ticker. Now it will run first time, it will print Shweta, then it will increment the value of ticker to 1, which was initially 0. Then it will come back here and see if 1 is less than 3, condition true, it will go ahead and print. Again it will increment the value of ticker by 1, which is 2. It will go back to loop, and in this way it will keep running until the condition is false. So let's run it. So you can see that 3 times it is printed. So let's say if I'm changing the value to 5, so it will print 5 times for us. So this is how a while loop works. And let's say if you are making this condition to this, so in this case we are not expecting any output, because first time itself condition is false, value of ticker is 0. So is 0 greater than 5? No, it means none of these statements which are part of while loop will get executed. Okay, now let's talk we have else keyword in for loop. Similarly here also we have else keyword. So let's quickly copy the same line of code, and I will change this condition to make it work. So whenever this while loop is false, or whenever this condition is false, we want something to be printed. Let's say we want to print this message. So 3 times it printed, and when this condition was false, it fall back here, and then it printed this line. So it means this will execute only once when the condition is false. Okay, now let's see, you want to terminate your loop. Your loop is running. Again, I can take the same example over here. So let's say this loop is running and it is printing for 3 times. Now I want to break this loop once it got printed 2 times. So how can we do that? So in order to do that, we need to see here, we can use if condition, and we will see if ticker equals 2, then simply break it. And if ticker is not equal to true, then it will execute these 2 lines. So let's see how it works. Now this time you have seen that it printed 2 times, and when ticker was 2, it just came out of the loop. So it means it didn't print any more statement, it didn't execute any line once the break statement is received. So break is like another way you can terminate your loop. Now let's talk about one of the very interesting concept, which is like nested loops. And nested means something which is inside something. Let's say nested means there is a loop, and inside the loop there is another loop. So it's like one another. How can you handle that situation? So Python has a provision to facilitate us with such kind of coding scenarios. So I can quickly give you an example what we are trying to achieve here. Let's say we want to print output something like this. Counter is 1, then again. So let's go till 2. So this is what we are expecting as our output. Okay. So I will quickly comment it so that it will not create any problem with our code. Okay, so this is our expected output. How can we achieve this? So in order to start this, first of all, we can see what or how many times we need to print this thing. So there are 2 loops which we need. So one loop which will print these 3 rows, and another loop which will handle these internals of each and every row. So let's have a look of it. So first of all, we can define let's go with the same variable ticker, and we can say while ticker is less than 3. Oops. If ticker is less than 3, then we need to print value of ticker, which is 0, 1, 2 I'm talking about. And after that, what we need to do is it will just print 0, 1, 2. Next thing, I need to print string as Shweta. So for doing that, we need to create another variable, because this is different counter and this entire row is different counter. So to avoid the confusion, we can make it print until 4. So let's make it till 4. Okay. So now we need a counter which will count from 0 to 3, and then we need another counter which will count horizontally. So this is the one which is counting vertically, and for horizontal counter, I am taking another variable name inner ticker, you can say inner ticker, and here we need to print Shweta 2 times. So let's put it as 2 and go ahead and print. I will give some space here, and it will go ahead and print Shweta. Now the next thing what we need to do is we need to increment this counter. So it will get false once it reaches true. Okay. Now one more thing which we missed out is we need to initialize some default value. So the way we have done it for ticker is 0. Similarly, we need to do this as something. Let's make it 0 here. And okay, now what we need to do next, we are done with this inner loop. We need to increment the counter so that we can move to next row. So for incrementing that, we need to again increment our ticker. And that's all we have to. So there are some glitches in this code. We will discuss it shortly, but let's have a look what this code is doing right now. Okay, so you can see that our expected output was something like this, but it is giving us output something like this, which is actually not the correct way. How can we improve it now? So the very first thing which we need is we need to print few more Shwetas here which are completely missing. And the reason why it is missing is because when the counter reaches 2, we are not initializing it back to 0. So when for each and every row we want 2 times Shweta to be printed. So it means rather than initializing it here, we need to also initialize it here. So whenever we are jumping into this inner loop, we will count it from 0. Let's see how it works now. Okay, so we are very close. 0, 2 times Shweta. Now the only problem which we are facing right now is the alignment. So after 0, we are expecting Shweta. 1, Shweta, Shweta. 2, Shweta, Shweta. So how can you do that? So by default, print statement prints to new line. So in order to get into the same line, there is a keyword end which we need to put. And similarly, we can add that here also. Let's try it now, what is happening. The reason why I'm going this is so that you can understand how things are moving forward in order to achieve the solution. So we are still not perfect, although we are getting the way we want, but still like we need separate line after each second Shweta, right? So how can we do that? So first of all, I will make one space here. Okay, so in order to put the line break here, here as well as here, we need to tell the Python that move on to the next line once the inner loop is done. So which means we need to put one more print here, and this print will move us to the next line. So this time you can see that as soon as we put one empty print here, it triggered the system that hey, we need to change the line, and we just came out of that. So this is how you can utilize the nested loop, and hope you enjoyed learning today's while loop. Thank you.